For the first time in 5 years, Mary said the words she never thought she would. Maybe I cannot do this at home anymore. She has been faithful. She has lined up respite. She even scheduled her own doctor's appointments. But lately, it's not the tasks that wear her down. It's the guilt, the worry, the fear that she won't have what it takes for the long haul. Her husband falls, his depression, it's all starting to feel heavier than she can carry. And maybe you have felt that too, that quiet aching thought that you might not be strong enough to keep going. If that's where you are today, this episode is for you. Hey, Christian Care Companion, if you've ever felt like Mary, faithful, but worn down by guilt and fear, you do not need to carry that by yourself. That's why I created the Christian Dignicare Society, a simple faith-centered community for Bible-believing Christians who need a place to belong, to pray together, and to keep practicing this journey without feeling alone. Because peace doesn't come from doing more, it comes from walking with others who understand. It is a one-time investment of less than $100 for lifetime access. The first 100 people get a 15-minute personal welcome walkthrough with me. Mary is a founding member, and I've watched her take real steps forward, even in the middle of the hard. You can join us today at thinkdifferentdementia.com and take your first faithful steps with others who are walking this same road. Hey, Christian Care Companion, welcome back to Dementia Caregiver Support for Christians, the podcast where we walk with Bible-believing Christians who want to stay steady in their faith while they care for somebody living with dementia. Here we talk about the struggles that don't always show up on a checklist. Sometimes it is the weight of the responsibilities. Sometimes it's finding the right words to tell the truth without making more conflict. And many times it's that unseen heart work, the guilt, the fear, and the questions about tomorrow. Today's conversation leans into how do you care for yourself without feeling guilty? And how do you trust God when you're starting to wonder if you can keep going? So let's get practical and honest about what it means to keep caring when your strength feels like it's running out. This is an example of our Ask the Dementia Coach conversations that come up every single month. The next one is soon. You can also register for that. This conversation with Mary comes out of one of those sessions. And if you are ready to join, I would love to see you in our next Ask the Dementia Coach monthly question and answer session so you as well can get the kind of help that Mary gets in this session today, where you will hear and see real live dementia caregiver support in action. So without further ado, let us join my conversation with Mary. Mary. Hello, Mary. It's
Hi.
nice seeing you. How are you, young lady? It's been a bit.
You. I'm okay, although I have accomplished some of my goals. I just recently have been able to get 5 hours every week, because last month I was going to just go ahead and pay for myself every other week 4 hours, because I thought I could afford that. Then I started doing research on area of aging and was able to get 5 hours a week and still them give me the money of the person that I've hired that I like, because I didn't want to use an agency. So anyway,
I'm glad for the update. And I'm going to take us through a very specific process that I take everybody through.
okay.
So 6 months from today, What needs to have happened for you to be able to say that it is easier, that you are stewarding this journey well, both the caregiving side of it, your relationships, and your health?
Because I've gotten someone to be with him for an extended period of time, I, for the first time, have scheduled appointments, doctor appointments for myself. So that's happening in the next 2 months because I feel very tired. I'm making lots of mistakes and I don't totally understand why. So hopefully we can figure that out because I feel myself getting much weaker and much more scattered, not as good at keeping my days totally focused and totally together. Some of that, I believe, is because of the unknowns. My husband, I believe, is going in and out of depression because he's falling a lot more, even with his walker, and he's forgetting to use the walker. He tries to use the cane to just go 3 steps and he falls. So I don't know how to handle the depression because I don't want him on meds because I hear that's a nightmare too. So I'm kind of trying to figure out what do I do there, but how do I manage my own health through
Okay.
this so I can be strong enough to help him.
Okay. So, what is standing in your way of achieving that?
In everything that I've learned so far about dementia and stuff, I mean, being part of groups, yes, but tons of books through Audible that I can do while I'm working. And I'm not so sure about resources on depression from a Christian perspective. Because when you listen to it from a medical perspective, it's totally different. They're not looking at what he's going through and,
Mhm.
the management of his I don't know, of his heart. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm trying to keep respectful to him,
Okay.
uh, best I can in the stage he's in. So I don't know the resources there.
Okay. Might I help you with some of that?
Yes, absolutely.
I am excited that you brought this up. So I'm actually gonna. First of all, I want to say I am super proud of you from the right perspective, not the braggadocious perspective that you have scheduled these doctor's appointments for yourself. That is a very, very big step. About 30% of family caregivers actually pass away before the person that they're caring for because they don't take care of themselves. So I'm very happy and I'm pleased that you're stewarding this part for you well because you need to be able to take care of your health as well. So that is a very, very big thing. I want to talk to you about a couple of things that you mentioned. You mentioned depression, going in and out of depression, but you mentioned falling, okay? And you also mentioned resources from a Christian perspective for depression, okay? And or not and medication, right? So I'm going to start with the falling because that is something that as an occupational therapist by background and training, we are taught to do anything and everything we can to prevent somebody from falling, right? And it's good and right. We need to. I don't want your spouse to fall. I don't want you to hear that I'm saying that he needs to fall. And what you mentioned about the cane and not using the walker indicates to me that possibly he is getting to a point or a stage where the walker isn't making sense for him anymore. And it was easier. The cane was something that was routine and familiar to him. So he's going back to it. Okay. How this frequently comes out or looks like for people is they're being stubborn. They don't want to use their walker. They know better. All of these things. I'll never forget a good friend of mine, Pam. She lives locally. She'll kill me about using her as an example for the story, but it was a sweet thing. She would tell me, she's like, my mom's not using her walker. And then the very next sentence she would say to me, I know she can't remember to use it. Right. So with your husband, he may be getting to a point where he's not remembering to use the walker. So if that's the case, a good strategy is to just not correct him, but to just say to him, "Oh, honey, here, we're supposed to use this," right? And so just make it incidental. Or when he gets up, "Oh, honey, we need to use the walker." However you want to phrase it. Recognizing at the same time that any person living with cognitive impairment, it is a question of time and they're going to fall. It's almost, I don't want to say it's a given because plenty of people make it through without ever falling, but cognitive loss equals falls over time. Yes, the person's balance is impacted, but a lot of the falls are because they're making unwise decisions. They're not recognizing the consequences of what's happening. And then they sit down on a chair that's not there, right? So that part of it related to the falls, I would encourage you maybe put the cane away so he doesn't see it, out of sight, out of mind. You can try strategies like putting a sign on the walker. If you guys are close by all the time, I would just incidentally bring it to him. Related to the falls, another good strategy, Mary, is to maybe ask your doctor for a tune-up therapy. So get an order for physical therapy and occupational therapy. If your husband is pretty mobile still, outpatient is an option. If not, then ask for some home health. Falling is an indication of a change in function. So when you call the doctor or my chart or whatever you do, tell them, "My husband has started falling. That is a decline in function. I want physical therapy or occupational therapy or both," right? And do some skilled therapy for the things that can improve, like strength and balance and the underlying things that we can improve through skilled therapy. So just because he's falling, that indicates to me, especially since it's a change, to consider adding some skilled therapy for a tune-up, right? He didn't fall and break a hip. He didn't have a stroke, any of these things, but he's falling. And Medicare will pay for him for skilled therapy because he's had a decline in function. Okay? So that's the first thing. The second thing related to the depression, many people, about 80% of people who live with some form of dementia have depression. And so there is also this, which came first, the chicken or the egg, right? Are they depressed because they have dementia? Or does depression cause some of the impairment? And having said that, depression is something that can be treated. It can have underlying physical causes. Yes, depression can be a sinful response. It can be, but it can also have actual physical causes to depression. So from a Christian perspective, the balance comes in we have to first look and see whether there are physical causes for his depression. Vitamin D, all sorts of things can be out of whack that can cause signs and symptoms of depression that have a physical cause. Then there's also the sinful response to things possibly happening. I'm going to name 2 books that I want you to consider. The first one is a book called Blame It on the Brain. It was written by Ed Welch. And the other one is written by a biblical counselor who was a physician. And he also wrote his name is Halla, Dr. Halla, Halla. But Blame It on the Brain is a really good book. Mary, if I remember, if I don't, prod me because I will send you the name of the book. There are several good biblical counselors who have written books on depression from a biblical counseling perspective. Okay?
Yep.
So maybe search in when you're searching for a book, search biblical counseling, depression. But Blame It on the Brain by Ed Welch is a really good book. It has a section on Alzheimer's and it also has a section on depression.
This Dr. Halla, I was just looking up on Google. There is a book just named Depression. Is that the one you're thinking of?
I think so.
Tim? Okay, because he has several books. Okay. I can download them on Audible, hopefully, and then listen to him. That's great.
I have met him. He lives locally to us. He is a godly man. And so I would strongly recommend that you consider, listening to it because he's 80 now, but he was a physician. He's a retired physician. So it will give you a different lens, a Christian lens to look at depression through.
Okay.
But we also need to recognize medication can play a role. I'm not suggesting medication is never my first line of defense, but medication can sometimes get people through the hump.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Yep.
based on our conversation today, what's one thing that you can do next week or this coming week that you can take action on based on what we've talked about today?
Download those books. Start listening to them.
There you go. I'm so glad to see you again, Mary. I love it when you come. I'm excited when you come. I'm very glad that you're taking care of your own health. And back to something you said at the beginning, consider that when you're a caregiver, it is very easy because you're overwhelmed and you've got a lot going on to not be as sharp as what you normally would be. It is very, very normal. And having said that, don't discount it and have it looked at.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
it's been the very first time I've ever thought, oh, maybe I can't make this journey at home. And I thought that has never hit my brain ever through the last 5 years. And then I just thought, I've got to do something different. So yeah, thank you. This would be very helpful.
Awesome. People who are really benefiting from the community are the people who joined earlier on before they need it and that have been active and are participating in the community because then they already know what questions to ask and they have a place to come and they're not constantly wondering, what do I need to do? How do I need to do it? So people listening are interested in tapping into or learning about the community. I'd invite you to just go to the website, thinkdifferentdementia.com. There's a link for you to schedule a 20-minute call. There's no pressure. I'll serve you regardless of whether you join the community or not. But it is a way for you to take this relationship a little deeper, a little bit more hands-on support, because really the research also shows it's longitudinal support over time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure. I would highly recommend Lizette. She's awesome.
Tracy, I appreciate that endorsement.